All right, welcome to Gaining Insight, hosted by A Kid Mental Health, where we talk to individuals, families, and professionals about their journeys navigating mental illness and the insights they've gained along the way. Today, I'm really excited to talk to Michelle Hammer. Michelle is a schizophrenia activist and spends her time passionately fighting stigma. Michelle was diagnosed with schizophrenia at age 22 after a misdiagnosis of bipolar at age 18. And in May 2015, she founded a mental health focused clothing brand called Schizophrenic.NYC. Her clothing brand has a mission of reducing stigma by starting conversations about mental health. And of course, that's exactly what you're here for today. So I want to start a conversation about mental health. Can you start by telling me a little bit about your background and just your story broadly?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Michelle Hammer. I have schizophrenia. I was diagnosed at 22. Before that, everybody loves to hear the background story. Everybody always asks me the background story. It's so hard to know where to begin. Like my first
Mhm.
hallucination, I guess I was a little girl driving in the car with my mom. I would always look out the window. I saw a guy on a motorcycle on the power lines, and he would just drive along with us. That's what I used to see. I never knew if
Mhm.
that was a schizophrenia hallucination, but that's my first memory of actually seeing something like that. I could have been just a little girl, but I don't know. Everybody was always asked, "What's your first hallucination?" So that's what I say. Then
Mhm.
I got a little bit older, and in about high school is where I started exhibiting a lot of different symptoms. Like in ninth grade, I wouldn't do any homework. I would just was very like down. I wasn't really negative symptoms. The negative symptoms of schizophrenia, not meaning that they are actually negative. Just for listeners, it just means you're not talking a lot. You're very withdrawn. You're very isolated. Things like that.
Mhm.
And that's
And I
where
imagine that's would be really hard to tell from kind of a normal high school experience in a lot
right,
of ways
exactly,
too. Yeah.
exactly. And I went to an extremely large high school, so it was very like slipping through the cracks. My mom, like, and I was very, very paranoid. So every time my mom tried to get me help, I thought she was trying to hurt me. I thought she
Oh.
wanted to sabotage me, want me dead, try to ruin my life, everything like that, which could be typical of a mother daughter relationship. But when in my head, I strongly believed she was the one trying to ruin my life forever. And I think it
Mhm.
was beyond mother daughter, high school relationship, because
Right.
moms and daughters in high school, you might not get along, but you don't think your mom is trying to actually kill you, things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
graduated high school. I wanted to play lacrosse in college. I wanted to study graphic design. I went to SUNY Oneonta. I'm having a great time my first few weeks. Met new great people, great friends, enjoyed my new classes, and then all of a sudden, in my head, these voices happened. And it was the same thing. I thought my roommate was trying to hurt me, sabotage me, and want me dead. And I was like, wait a minute.
Mm.
Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Why would I be thinking the same things about my roommate and my best friend that I thought about my mother? And then it
Hmm.
just was like, click, something's not right. Something
Mhm.
like my mom was right. There was something up with me because this doesn't make sense. And that's when I called the health center for an
Hmm.
appointment with a therapist. I
Mhm.
met with one, um, talked to her a little bit. I'm not good at the therapy type of a deal. And then I met with the psychiatrist. Well, first I met the therapist, and he basically went down a checklist with me
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
they don't know what they're doing. You'd think people, therapists dealing with with college kids would be better dealing with college kids, but to go down a
Mhm.
checklist, I
Yeah.
I have a problem with most therapists. I just because of my experiences. But they
Uh-huh.
told me 15 minutes that I was bipolar, and they handed me a pamphlet of some girl crying. I was like,
Okay.
just the most uplifting thing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So uplifting to get this pamphlet with this girl crying. So now I know what my
Like,
life's
this is me. They found
right,
me.
So I'm
Yeah.
told that I'm bipolar, and
Yeah.
then you know what I mean. The meds aren't working for me. Nothing's good.
Mhm.
Nothing's going well. I end up in the psych ward once. I end up in the psych ward again. I end up in the psych ward again, and I'm still being told I'm bipolar. I don't go back to that doctor at the school. I see a doctor outside the school who just kind of puts me on medication, not really with a specific diagnosis, but it's more of just like an antidepressant kind of a deal, like an old school one. And I looked it up, and it was like for extreme depression. And like it was
Mhm.
just like a chill medication, but you had to take it 3 times a day. And if you miss your 3 times a day right at the drop off, you kind of go, I'm angry. I don't need medication anymore. Things like
Uh-huh.
that. So I really had to get my 3 times a day down so I could be okay. And that took a while. And what helped me was being on the lacrosse team, where my coach finally said to me, I can tell within 1 minute if you took your medication or not. And I was like, okay. And she goes, so if you're going to play this year, you need to take your medication. I don't want to deal with you. And like,
Yeah.
the thing is, I was on the
Is that
lacrosse.
surprising to you that that she, or was it a woman? Is it she or
Oh,
he?
yeah, it was a she.
She could tell? Like, would you be able to tell
No, I
yourself,
think it
or?
was like we were pretty close in a way. She
Yeah.
was maybe like 4 years older than me.
Okay.
We were chilling. She was older, like
Hmm.
4 years older than me. Maybe she was 5 years older than me. I'm not sure. But anyway,
Okay.
we were friends. She was like 26 and I was like
Yeah.
20 or something like that.
Hmm.
Or 21. I can't remember. But
Hmm.
like, I'm not surprised that she could tell because I would act out all the time. I was always
Hmm.
acting out,
Hmm.
right? And I played defense. I was the lowest defender. I could stop 2v1s. I did it a million times. And she'd even say, like, I wish you were bad so I could just cut you from the team, but I can't. You know, I'm not saying I'm a fantastic
But
lacrosse player,
you
but I
also
was
had
a
that
very
friendly
good
relationship.
lacrosse player for a Division 3 athlete. I was all conference. And then I noticed when my coach said that to me about the medication, that whole fall semester, I was my senior year. I started taking my medication. Then January comes around. I'm still taking my medication as you're supposed to. I'm supposed to be taking it. And then I get asked to be captain. And I
Hmm.
was like, because the thing is, she shuts the door and my assistant coach comes in too. And I'm sitting in that seat and I'm like, oh my, in my head, I'm going, what did I do? What did I do? Just apologize, just apologize, just apologize. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And then they go, you're not in trouble. I go, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And they go, we want to know if you want to be captain. I go, oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
So she noticed that there was a change in me. So I noticed then that when I just got over the fact that I had to take meds and took my meds at the right time, that I was a happier person, I was a better person, and people enjoyed me more. But
Uh-huh.
then I graduated college. I didn't see that doctor anymore. And I didn't have that medication anymore. And then I'm kind of home. I'm trying to work these internships. And like New York City is not an easy place to work. Like it's
Hmm.
go, 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 go.
Hmm.
And you are replaceable. So I said, I need to
Hmm.
see a new doctor. And I go to a new doctor. I'm like trying to be more open and honest and talk more and everything. And eventually he's like, you have schizophrenia. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, which I thought was like, I mean, I knew I wasn't bipolar, but I didn't know what I had. But also I did a lot of like self-stigmatism. I was like, I'm not schizophrenic. I'm not schizophrenic, which brings me
Hmm.
to an interesting story that I like to share is that I live with pretty much the same four with three or other people in college, like 4 years. So we're in the city and we're all graduated from college and we're all out to dinner. And I was like, guys, I got to tell you something. I got something to tell you. I was
Hmm.
like, I got diagnosed with schizophrenia. And they all looked at me with this look, right? And the one goes, isn't that what you had the whole time?
Hmm.
That could have not been more obvious. And yeah, we told you that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it was kind of like if my best friends already knew, didn't care, why do I care about any other negative reactions I have from other people? Because also one of my lacrosse friends, teammates, I was walking with her. We were walking in the East Village, and I was like, "Yo, Lauren, I found that I have schizophrenia," and she just starts laughing, and she's like, "I could have told you that 3 years ago." I'm like, "How did you know?" She goes, "Remember the bus rides to games where you would just be sitting in your seat talking to nobody?" And I was like,
Hmm.
"Yeah," but she's like, "What did you think was happening?" I was like,
Hmm.
oh, "I don't know."
Hmm.
So everybody already knew. I just needed the right
Hmm.
med. So it was like a lot of times I like to tell people a schizophrenia diagnosis is not a bad thing. It's the best thing because then you could be treated for the correct illness.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was a
Yeah,
good thing that
absolutely.
that happened to me. And my
Yeah.
friends
Well,
already knew, but they're still like, how do you tell people? What do you do with this? What do you do with that? So
yeah.
that's the backstory. You just heard it. That took like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, well, thank you. And that tells a lot of stories. And I was going to ask about these reactions from your friends as well, because I think that that was an important thing in the interview that we worked on earlier. And it's a kind of unique reaction that your friends were not that they were aware. Well, maybe to be aware of what schizophrenia is somewhat unusual, but then to just be so casual and accepting, it seems like that was really meaningful to you. And I wonder if you have any like thoughts or advice for other people that are getting this news from their friends and don't know how to react, because we work a lot with friends and family, and people don't always know like what to say or thoughts on that. So it seems like you have
I
really good
would
experiences with
just
that.
give them a hug and be like, we accept you.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
accept you. It's just a diagnosis. People think it's the scariest diagnosis. Because all you
Mhm.
ever see in the media is danger and violence and everything, when it's really not violent. Because you hear schizophrenia and you're like, oh my God, oh no, schizophrenia. You must be dangerous. Oh, if you don't take your medicine, you might murder someone or
Mhm.
kill somebody. Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
terrible. But it's like, no. And it's just, it's like,
I
what do you
love
want
your
me to say?
drama.
What's the good mental illness? Like, is there a good mental illness to share? Like, what can I tell you? I'm mentally ill. Which one do you want me to pick that you won't be afraid of me? The thing is, it's like mental illness
Yeah.
is so much more accepted, but there's still
Mhm.
so much stigma of violence.
Mm.
Because they
Mhm.
always claim on the TV, oh, they were mentally ill. Okay,
Mhm.
well, anyone
Mhm.
that shoots somebody or kills somebody or something like that obviously isn't right in their head. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then
Right.
you group everybody together. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Right.
like I don't, just because they shot a bunch of people doesn't mean they're schizophrenic like me. Doesn't mean that I'm schizophrenic like they are, and I'm gonna shoot people too. Like, it doesn't make stop
Yeah.
correlating this. I
Yeah.
think there should be another diagnosis of the people that shoot all the people. You can be mentally ill, but why
Yeah.
don't you be mentally ill shooter? That's what I say.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like, get them
Yeah,
their
I
own
think that
label.
there's a lot of
I
wisdom to
think
that.
those people need another label because I don't want to be associated with those people. How about we
Uh-huh.
make that a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
I
make
don't
that a
know.
thing.
That's a
They
great
need their
question.
own diagnosis.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
shouldn't be
for
using
that
my
kind of
diagnosis.
violence, and it's genuinely would be more productive than trying to treat people that have a diagnosis of schizophrenia as if they're automatically in that category, which is just obviously not true from the research and from
Right.
like life with schizophrenia.
Right. If they would
Yeah.
just remove
Yeah.
those mass shooters from the from all the regular, I mean, the general mental health issues or
Yeah. Yeah.
diagnosis, give them a different
Yeah.
diagnosis, then there would be such less stigma. So, and you
Yeah.
know what? That's gonna be my new advocacy. Maybe, probably not, but I'm gonna work on
Well, I
that.
want to talk with you about your advocacy and about your clothing brand.
Oh, sure thing.
I love your style. I ordered some items myself, and
Yes.
I want to hear some of the stories about how you decided to get started with this. And also like how you come up with some of the ideas behind some of your slogans you have right behind you. Don't be paranoid. You look great. Like, what's some of your inspiration, and how do you decide to launch this?
Well, yeah. So, like, I mean, like I said before, like my friends already knew that I had schizophrenia, but like I felt like I couldn't tell other people because,
Mhm.
like I said, the stigma. And I was like, this is so stupid. I am so sick of this. And like, I had worked in corporate New York City graphic and web design for 5 years. I kept losing jobs, and I kept losing jobs not because of my ability. It was just because my schizophrenia was always getting in the way of stuff. Sitting
Mhm.
behind a computer for like 8 hours a day or whatever it was driving me crazy. I was
Mhm.
having just struggling with basically everything I know, like, mentally ill that can go wrong in a workplace just was always affecting me in some way where I would make mistakes or something and I would lose my
Mhm.
job.
Mm.
So it was
Mhm.
also very replaceable. Like in New York City, replaceable, replaceable,
Mhm. Mhm.
replaceable,
Mhm.
replaceable, just like that. You're so
Yeah.
replaceable, it doesn't even matter. So you make any
Mhm.
mistakes, we'll replace you. So
Mhm.
that's the beginning. But in doing that, I worked in almost every graphic and web design field you could possibly imagine all over New York City because I had
Mm.
so many jobs. So I decided I was not going to, I wanted to tell everyone that I had schizophrenia because I was so sick of this dumb secret. And when I told my doctor I wanted to start a clothing brand called Schizophrenic.NYC, he goes, "Are you sure about that?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Mm.
And he's like, "So you want to tell everyone you have schizophrenia?" And I was like, "Yeah." But the thing is, I also told my mom that I wanted to do this, and she thought it was crazy. And then I
Mhm.
spent like $500 on shirts, and she called my doctor.
Mm. Mhm.
They all thought this was a terrible idea. What
Mm.
am I doing? Am I going through some episode? What's going on?
Mhm.
And my first things were they were just Rorschach test prints on white tank tops. And I rolled up, I got a spot at the Long Island City Flea in Queens and just went for it. And then I
Mhm.
started making videos. People started getting traction. I knew a girl that worked for the Daily Mail on my club lacrosse team in the city. She put up an article about me, and that's when things started blowing up a little bit.
Mhm.
So pretty much I that's how it started, was me just
Mhm.
wanting to tell everyone that I had schizophrenia and do something also just to help the schizophrenic homeless community in New York City, because they're just everywhere. Because I
Mhm.
think one of the original things that I saw that made me really want to say something is that at the time I was having my schizophrenia episodes or just talking to people, I had this roommate and he'd always catch me because I kept moving my arms around a lot when I was talking to people. I kept moving my arms and he would
Mhm.
call me out on it. And then I'm riding the F train. I looked on the train, there's a homeless guy talking to himself, moving his arms around the same way that
Mhm.
I did it. So I was
Mhm.
like, the difference between me and him, I have a support team of my family, friends, and doctor. And if I didn't, that homeless guy, I could be homeless just like him. So I was like, let me
Mhm.
just do something that's going to make a difference, help, and just
Mhm. Mhm.
just make mental health spoken about, because 1 in 5 New Yorkers has some mental health issue. So
Mhm.
what is all the stigma about? So basically, you're popping up
Mhm.
in New York City. Let's talk about mental health. So I started at the Long Island City Flea, and then I started popping up in actual Manhattan. And that's
Yeah.
where real the conversations happen. And then I was in Little Italy. I spoke to so many tourists. Now
Mhm.
sometimes I'm in Hell's Kitchen with my pop-up. It's just like it's unreal the amount of conversations I have with about mental health with people.
Mhm.
And a lot, like as soon as I say that I have schizophrenia, they tell me either their friend does, they do, or a family
Mhm.
member does. So
Right.
if it's so common, what is all the stigma about?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right? So
Mhm.
that's what I have all these conversations about
Mhm. Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, you must have had so many conversations with people from a lot of different backgrounds, and New York is such a like active, vibrant city, and different kinds of people. I mean, what's really surprised you most about these conversations that you've been able to have through your clothing brand?
What surprised me most is that most people are very open with me, and they've
Mhm.
said, I've never told anyone this before.
Uh-huh.
So it's like I
Yeah.
really make it a safe space.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because you're so
I'm so
vulnerable
open,
yourself.
and like I'm
Yeah.
that stranger on the street that
Yeah.
you can just talk to. Like one
Mhm.
person, a woman came up, but she just started crying. She
Mm.
said, "Thank you so much for doing this." She didn't tell me what her real story was, but I can tell she had a connection, and she was just like really like just it just I forget the words to use, but like
Yeah.
I've also gotten like a slam on the table. What is this? Like things like
Mm.
that. And then I've said, well, I started explaining how I did my little spiel, and I was like, so I designed this. He goes, oh, so you're schizophrenic? And I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you're very brave. And then he walked away.
Oh, uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh, okay." Because sometimes
Yeah.
people think I'm making a joke, but I'm not
Right.
making a joke.
Right.
But
Right.
I did it because I have like the "Don't be paranoid, you look great." They're
Yeah.
"You're making a joke." I'm like, "No." I'm like, because first, the "Don't be paranoid, you look great" slogan was really just my slogan for my sign, and then people loved it so much, I turned it into a T-shirt, and then it
Uh-huh.
was selling
Uh-huh.
like crazy. And then I was like, "How do I come up with another slogan for
Uh-huh.
schizophrenia?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." I workshop with some people, and then I'm like, "Okay, it's not a delusion. You are incredible." And then
Uh-huh.
that people like that one, and then I needed another, and then we were having a protest something, and then there was all that stuff a few years ago about like what I was saying before, mentally ill people that are killing everybody, blah 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 blah. So I made the
Mhm.
shirt, "I'm mentally ill and I don't kill." And we had a
Mhm.
protest,
Mhm.
and I sold a whole bunch of those, and people still wear those, and people like to wear those. The thing is, you wear those in New York City, and our shirt says "I'm mentally ill and I don't kill." You get some looks. So I can't imagine wearing that shirt outside of New York City.
Right.
Right? You're gonna
Right.
get some looks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny sometimes, and I see where I'm sending them, and I'm like, wow. But you wear
Mhm.
that shirt to a conference, a mental health conference, they're like, whoa, okay, what's that about? Tell me.
Mhm.
That sparks the conversation. And then
Mhm.
from my podcast with Gabe, bipolar schizophrenia podcast, we did a
Mhm.
whole thing, and we made the shirt define normal. And it
Mhm.
pretty much came from, so I spoke about my first conversation with the therapist at my school. And
Mhm.
the thing it came from, like, he asked me, so what do you like want from this? And I said, I just want to be normal. And he goes, well, what's normal? And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
he's like, can you say what, I was like, oh, define normal. Like there is no normal, but so
Mhm.
many people think I need to be normal. I need to be normal. I need to be normal. Tell me what normal is.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
is it? It's
Yeah.
different for everyone. Everyone would consider something else to be normal. You might think this is normal, but that person over there looks at you and goes, you're not normal.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's kind of like, define it for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
And
then it's
I
funny
think
because
that
at
goes
my
to kind
pop-up
of
shop, people be like, I can define normal for you. And then they'll
oh,
say something. That's usually it's old men who do that. Old men love to crack jokes at me all the time. That's what I've noticed. And I've heard this one all the time.
all right.
What
So
was
two
it?
surprising things. I mean,
Yeah,
one
yeah,
is
yeah.
just how much this is like below the surface, and people tell you things, but they haven't told anyone before. But
Yeah.
they have this connection with it, and then old men who know what normal is.
Right. Old men. They always go, have you heard the joke? Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm schizophrenic, and so am I. I'm like, that's a great joke. Haven't heard it before. I've been told that joke so many times by old men.
Really interesting.
Yes, they think it's the funniest joke. I'm like, good one. I
Good,
always
good
laugh and tell them
joke.
it's a good one. I'm
Yeah,
like, that's a
that's
good
good.
one.
That's
That's a
good. You
great
gotta
joke, sir.
gotta keep it going.
That's
Gotta keep it
the
cycling so
worst
they
joke.
keep
That is
telling
the
people.
worst possible joke. That's a
Yeah.
terrible effing joke. And I don't know what it's from because only old men tell me this joke.
Uh-huh. Um, well, thank you so much. I love your humor and your approach to this and just your personality coming through. So I'm gonna wrap up the interview. I really appreciate it, but I'd just love for you to share any last words of hope or advice for others, or anything to find more of your work.
Yeah, totally. Don't let a mental health diagnosis, get you down. Don't let it think you can't achieve your dreams. Don't let self stigma get in the way of living your best life. And to find me, you can go to schizophrenic.nyc. That's my website, but schizophrenic.nyc is also my Instagram. And schizophrenic.nyc is my TikTok. And Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it, is schizophrenic NY. And then Facebook, Schizophrenic NYC. I don't know. Just go to my website, schizophrenic.nyc. Learn more about me there, and you will have a great time.
All right, amazing, absolutely. And so thank you so much again, and it was just wonderful to learn from
Thank you. I hope I didn't talk too much.
you.